Hey guys, in this lesson we will do compositing, the final lesson of the Ant-Man series. We will be compositing in After Effects with two additional plugins, Video Copilot's Lens Flare for the thrusters and Trapcode Particular for the smoke effect. By the way, this is Manish, an amazing friend of mine. Do check out his Instagram if you haven't already. Let's get into it. I have imported the main render and AOV sequences in After Effects. Let's bring it in. The sequence seems to be shorter, that's because it has different frame rate from the composition. So let's tell the image sequence what FPS to play at. In project panel, right click on the sequence, interpret footage, main, in assume frame rate type 25. Okay, now do this with the AOV sequences as well. Before we go ahead, let me tell you guys about Envato Elements. It's a website with huge collection of digital assets like stock video, images, music, fonts, graphic templates, etc, and my favorite, video templates. You get unlimited access to all of this with a monthly or yearly subscription. Compared to other stock websites, this one is like 10 times cheaper. I've been using this for over 2 years now, and let me briefly tell you what you're gonna get. In stock videos, you get access to millions of videos shot on professional cameras, but that's not all. In that, there's animated backgrounds, transitions, particle simulations, action packs for VFX, even animals and birds on green screen. With graphic templates and elements, there's also add-ons in which you get presets and actions to automatically add effects on your images, and a variety of brushes for digital painters. But the biggest time saver for me would be the video templates. There's not only slideshows and corporate templates, there's editable action packs, animated icons, logo animations, lower thirds, special effects. There's even rigged 2D characters. I highly recommend trying Envato Elements yourself. You can use the link in the description and support me in the process. Alright, let's continue. Alright, first let's get rid of the green model. We kept the green model just to hold the contact shadows. Use keylight effect and in screen color pick a green area which doesn't have any contact shadows, or else it will remove those as well. Right off the bat we get a pretty solid result. There is some overlapping, there are some extra unwanted shadows, some models are not placed accurately. These problems could have been avoided if the tracking was accurate, but that's okay. Let's fix all these issues before adding any special effects. I'm gonna be quick since it's basic stuff. Okay, you can see the 3D models have some noise or grains. Having noise is fine because the background video also has noise and we need to match 3D render with the video. But the green model which we are hiding, it's adding another layer of noise on the video, so let's get rid of it. To reduce noise you can simply add smart blur. Decrease radius value to retain the texture details on the model. You can see it's removing noise, but it is also removing noise and details from other models. So first let's bring the green model in a different layer and then apply smart blur. I'll keep keylight on and pre-compose this layer. Leave all the attributes so that the keylight effects stay in this comp. Here we are going to split this layer into two. One will have the green model and one will have the rest. You can use AOVs to do this, but I didn't make a custom AOV for the green model. I don't know how I missed that. Anyways, I'll call this background layer. Hit Ctrl D to duplicate. This will be the matte layer. Add keylight again. You can just copy from the other comp, it doesn't matter. Here we have isolated all models except the green one. I'll duplicate the background layer again. Rename it to green layer. Unhide this one and hide matte. In this we will use an effect called set matte. Under the take matte from, select matte layer. It's not working because most effects can't read effects that are applied to other layers. So I'm gonna pre-compose the matte layer, select move all attributes into new comp. Okay, now that the keylight effect is gone inside, set matte effect will work. What set matte effect is doing is taking alpha channel from the matte layer and applying it on this layer. So whatever is visible in the matte layer will be visible in this one, and what's invisible will become invisible. Now if we invert this, we get our green model. Here you can see contact shadows are getting removed. I want to reduce noise from them as well, so let's bring them back. Inside the matte layer, I'll increase screen gain. This is how you adjust your green screen. Okay, going back. Context shadows are back. So let's add smart blur. Turn on background layer. So this way we isolated the green model to reduce noise from it. The blur is a bit sharp in some places. Increase threshold to soften it. Alright, let's go back. The extra noise is gone, so now let's fix something else. Let's fix this model flying inside his shoulder. I'll use liquify effect. It's a cheap trick but works fine. Let's pull this up. Remember that this distortion will be applied to the entire video. If I go ahead and check, see, to fix this I'll just animate the distortion percentage. We'll keep it only when it's landing. Again 100% keyframe here, then go ahead a bit and 0. Now let's remove these highlights and hard shadows from the green model. I'll use pen tool to create a mask. Use subtract so whatever is inside the mask won't be visible. Increase feather so it's less noticeable. Then animate the mask path. You can use the feather tool if you want varied amount of feather in different places. Alright, this looks good enough. Now we have this shirt coming out of the Iron Man suit. This is why I had mentioned in lesson 1 to wear skinny fit clothing. Anyways, we didn't plan before shooting this, so let's just fix it. To remove the sleeve, we will create a piece of ground and place it on the sleeve area. Here we already have the 3D tracking we did in lesson 1. I'll create a null close to the sleeve. Now let's select a patch of the ground and place it on the null. So make a copy. Again use pen tool to create a mask. Now if I move the timeline slider, our patch changes since it's a video. So I'm gonna go to the frame I like, then right click, time, freeze frame. Delete the 3D tracking as well. Now this video layer will work as an image. Unhide everything. Now let's place this on the null object. First I'll move the anchor point in the center. Turn on 3D layer. Now copy the null's position and paste it here. It's sticking in place. Adjust the scale and rotation. It's not covering the sleeve, so we can increase its size and even adjust the mask. Okay, now add a lot of feather to blend the patch. Now it's covering the sleeve. It doesn't matter if the chest area is getting cut off, we have an easy fix for it. Now the problem is the sleeve appears again cause our camera has moved to a different angle. So I'll make another patch using the same steps and place it on a different area. Another patch for the ending part. Now the sleeve is gone, but the chest and left hand is also gone. So let's fix that. Select the 3 patches and pre-compose them. Now they won't work because they are 3D layers and I didn't pre-comp the camera with them. I skipped the camera because I want it in this layer as well. So now let's copy it and paste it inside. Again use set matte and I'll take matte from Iron Man layer and invert. By doing this, we will cut off all the patches that are coming over the Iron Man parts and the green model. The patch is noticeable in this area. Let's adjust it. We actually don't need this part, so we can animate the mask path and just hide it. Let's add brightness and contrast. I'll animate brightness and make it darker by the end. The hand is getting cut a bit, just use a mask to fix that. Alright, I'll use the same techniques to fix some other mistakes. I'm gonna fast forward this part. So this is what we have now. Here you can see after we apply the key light effect, some models become transparent because they may have some green reflections in them. To fix that, I'll simply add curves. Here instead of RGB, select alpha channel and let's boost it. Maybe boost some brighter areas so the shadows are not much affected. You can use this to boost shadows as well. Okay, I'm gonna turn off all the liquify effects because they are heavy for my system. We will turn them back on later. Now let's do some basic color corrections. I'll add vibrance on the video. Make sure the skin doesn't look yellowish. Play around with the settings, see what looks best for you. Okay, in the admin layer, I'm gonna add another curves. Select the red channel and push it towards a warmer shade. Now I'll add a camera lens blur, cause our render is sharp but the video footage is a bit blurry. So we will match them. Just a little bit, so 0.3 works fine. Okay, now let's add the lights AOV. Nothing shows up since the EXR sequence holds multiple AOV channels, so I'll use extractor. Click in this area and select emission channel. I'll rename this. Set mode to screen so the black areas are gone. Now let's add some glow to our lights. In glow settings, you will mostly use glow intensity, radius and threshold. These pretty much do what they say. If you want better quality glow, then use 16 bits in your color settings. Let me show the difference. Here, if it's 8-bit, it gets pixelated. See these lines? If it's in 16-bit, it's all smooth. Then there's 32 bits, which gives a completely different result. By the way, some effects don't support 32-bit color. It doesn't matter much for Liquify. Usually I use two glow effects, one with high intensity but with less spread or less radius, and another glow with less intensity but with more spread. Something like this. I think it gives a pretty good result. But since we have shot in daytime, we are not gonna keep it this bright. Let me reduce everything. Got a nice subtle glow on this ones as well. Now let's do the arc reactor and eyes. They are in the transmission channel, so I'll duplicate this layer and in extraction select transmission. Let me rename. I'll increase intensity just a bit. Now let's create the thrusters. For this we will need position values in 3D space where you want to place the thrusters and animate them. We can get that data from 3ds Max, and since we have already animated all objects in there, we won't have to do it again. We will simply bring in that data from 3ds Max to After Effects. We will use a script for it. Let me show how. Open the 3ds Max scene. Here we have all the animation we did earlier. Now wherever you want a thruster, place an Omnilight on that position. I'm gonna create a separate layer just for the Omnilights. This will be handy later. Go to Lights, Standard and Omni. Press Alt-A to align. Make sure all XYZ axes are checked and hit OK. Now it's placed where I want the thruster. I'll make a few copies of this light since we need a lot of them. And this one, I'll link it with the model so that it moves with the model. Now do the same everywhere you want the thrusters. Don't forget to link Omnilight with the object. Okay, it's done. Let me hide all other models. So this is what it looks like. Now select, wait, I don't want this. Select just the lights and camera. To export this to After Effects, I'll use a free script. I'll provide download link in the description. To call scripts, go to scripting, run script. This one is called AE Data Exporter. Here select the resolution of your project. Down here get scene settings. Select save location and give name. Give comp name as well. And export selected. Now to import it in After Effects, go to File, Scripts, Run Script File. It won't show up here, so select all file formats and open. Here we got the emitters comp. Let's open. First thing, check this text layer. It says this is a free camera. Select the camera, layer, transform, auto variant off. So let's do that. Auto orientation off. Okay. Now we don't need this text layer. You can see we have a camera and lights. So basically we have converted 3ds Max lights camera to After Effects lights and camera. Double click on light to open light settings. I'll change the light type to point so it's easier to see in the viewport. Do the same for all lights. So this is how it looks now. Let's copy all the layers and paste it in our comp. All the lights are in proper position. Here I have made a solid layer and applied optical flash effect. Click on options. Here you can select any preset you like. This optical flare is made up of a bunch of elements. I'm gonna hide the ones that I don't need. Then hit OK. In positioning mode, select track light. This way a optical flare will be placed on each light. Let me reduce the brightness and size a bit. Look at this, just in a few clicks. There was no need to manually animate each light. I'll add a curves effect cause it's spreading too much. So let's drop alpha channel a bit. There's something wrong with this. The values we are using are too small. Let me check the custom view. Yes, look at the tracking camera and look at the lights and the camera we got with them. Their size as a group is too small, so let's bring it up. I'll make a null object. Now link all of this to the null. Wait, it has to be a 3D null. Increase scale. I'll roughly match it with our tracking camera. That's good. Don't need this null anymore. It has served its purpose. Go to active camera. I guess we can add normal values now. This light is a bit off position. I think I misplaced it in max. I'm deleting this one. Right now optical flares is applied on all the lights, but we don't want the same lens flare on all lights. For that we have another option. We have this name starts with. In here if you select any alphabet, optical flares will be applied to the lights that have the same alphabet at the start of the name. So this one is supposed to be a laser, not a thruster. So I'll rename this with A at start. I'll keep this up so it's easier to find. Make a copy of the lens flare, and in this one select alphabet A. Now the optical flare is only applied to this light. Now let's edit the flare. You can pick any preset and edit its color and all. Let's pick this. It has 3 sides. Again I'll remove the extra elements. I'll change its color to red. This one, let's give it a slightly different shade of red. Alright. Let's try without the curves. I'll increase brightness and scale. This can be normal since the render mode is set to transparent, otherwise you will get black background. Let's add a brightness and contrast. I want it very bright in the center and not to spread much, just like a laser. Now we have to hide this laser in some places when it goes behind the models. There are a few ways to do that. You can simply keyframe the brightness or use a mask, but there is an option in optical flares itself. Here it should be going behind the golden model. So in this case we can use the gold AOV we made in the last lesson. So let's bring it in. Again add extractor and I'll select gold. Here you can see alpha channel of the gold materials. Go to optical flares. Here we have an option called foreground layers. In layer 1 I'll select gold AOV. Oh yes, it won't work like this, we need to pre-comp this. By using foreground layers options, you can hide layers in a much smoother way. So this is how it looks. It gradually fades and comes back. For the fingers we have already made masks. You can create a solid, paste those masks and again use it in foreground layers. But in case you don't have any mask or AOVs, then you can simply animate the intensity of the light. I'll pre-compose the light, AOV and lens flare to sort of group them together. Make sure to add a copy of the camera in it. Now let's do the fingers. First rename the lights. In name starts with, I'll select F. To make these optical flares look like rocket thrusters, you can simply add a radial fast blur. Place center in the opposite side, somewhere here. In zoom, select brightest. Looks good, right? You can even increase the amount to stretch it. I'll delete this for now, since it will slow down our preview. Let's animate the intensity just like we did for the laser. I want it to turn off when the fingers land. And this is what we get. I have turned off the ground layer also, that's why the fingers are showing up outside. Next we can add flicker in optical flares. Let's try. That's barely visible. Let's increase this. Okay, cool. You can also animate evolution to add more randomness. There is also random seed option in Flickr. And also check randomize lights, it will add a good variation between the flares. Alright, now let's add back the radial fast blur. I'll increase amount a lot. And let's check. Awesome. Now do the same for all other thrusters. I'll skip that part. Here I have disabled all the radial fast blur effects and also trimmed all layers, kept only the parts where they are visible in the timeline. Now let's add smoke. By the way, the technique used to create smoke in this lesson is very similar to a Video Copilot tutorial, cause that's where I have learned it from. If you guys don't understand any steps which I am about to show, then do check out that tutorial. I'll provide its link in the description. Okay, make a new solid layer. For this we will be using Trapcode Particular. So if you have it installed, go to Effects, RG Trapcode and Particular. Let me solo this layer. Can't see anything because the particles are in 3D space, even though the solid layer is not set to 3D. So here we have all the options we will be working with. There's also a designer in which you will find a bunch of presets ready to use. Open emitter. Just like the optical flares, we will be using those same lights we brought in from Max to emit smoke. Here it says only lights whose name starts with emitter are used. But we can change that, so no need to rename our lights. Click on choose names. Let's use this arm light. So I'll type arm. Now they are spreading everywhere, so in emitter section, set velocity to 0. Also all of this. And emitter also to 0. Now particles emitted from the light are staying in place. What is this? Yeah, these two lights have arm at start. Let me reduce particle count. Right now we have spheres as particles. Let's change that. Go to particle section. In particle type, select sprite. Here you can choose textures provided by Trapcode. We can even import our own images and use them. I have this cloud PNG. Let me rename it and place it in the comp. This doesn't have to be visible. We called it here just so that the particular can read it. Alright, back in particular, I'll set the particles per second to 100. Go down. In texture, select the cloud layer. Now we have the cloud image emitting from the light. Let me increase the size. Since we selected sprite in particle type, the particles will always face the camera. So even in 3D space, you won't be able to see the sides of the image. It won't look like a flat layer. Let's rotate this and see which side looks good. Never mind, 0 is good enough. Now add random rotation. Alright. Here we have size over life. The life of our particles is 3 seconds. After that they will suddenly disappear. This can be called as the end in the graph. Let me reduce the life to 2. Now we want the smoke to spread and disappear over time, just like smoke coming out of a rocket. It should be small at the start and big at the end. So I'll increase the size of the particles. Keep it big, cause in this size over life graph, you can only make size smaller, cannot increase it. Let me show you. Hold a left click and drag this. It will be more accurate if you drag slowly. You can see the particles at start are smaller and they gradually increase just like our graph. It looks too uniform. Let me change this. So it's small for some time, then suddenly increases. Alright, you can see particles suddenly disappearing at the end. So for that we have opacity over life. In this we will do the opposite. Start will have full opacity and end will have 0. See how it blends nicely. You can increase opacity random to add a bit of variation. Now let's open physics. Right now the particles are emitted and they stay in place until they die. But normally in real life smoke goes up. So for that we have gravity. If I add a negative value, the particles will go up. Here it's coming on the screen. Let me just reduce the life a bit. Okay, let's see how it looks. It's too dark, so I'll set the mode to screen. It shouldn't look like dark smoke which comes out of industries. Let's add some contrast so it doesn't look so flat. Let's drop overall opacity. And I'll also drop particle count. Okay. Let's apply the smoke on all the lights. So in choose names, don't keep anything. You can see some smoke trails need higher particle count. I can increase it but others won't look good. So what I'll do is make a different smoke layer wherever it's needed. Let's make a separate one for the arm. I'll pre-comb the arm light and lens flare layer. Then copy smoke, cloud PNG and the camera and paste it inside. Gold AOV came here automatically because we are using it in optical flash. Smoke is not showing up. We may have to add the particle texture again. Right now the smoke is emitted and it's going upwards, but we also want it to be pushed out from the thruster, like any rocket does. For that we have velocity from motion. Here it will apply velocity to the particles based on the motion of our emitter, which is the light. So if I increase this, the smoke will travel in the same direction as the light. To push it in the opposite direction, simply keep a negative value. That's good enough. Alright, size, let's keep 70. I'll increase size random to give some variation. Let me bring our render in, just for checking the size of the smoke. Let's keep it much smaller in the beginning. I'm gonna drop opacity. It looks more real that way. Let's change the graph a bit. I'm gonna keep it strong at start and quickly make it very transparent. Now I'll add a vector blur. Set the amount to 100. You can get weird results from this effect. Set the type to perpendicular and decrease the amount. This will create a distortion which will make our particles look more like smoke. Alright, let's preview. Okay, here we have added the gold AOV as foreground. Let me remove this and try set matte. Here add gold AOV and check on invert matte. This will give a different result. You can use whichever you like. Turn on radial fast blur. Let's readjust the center. We will actually have to animate the center as this goes. Before it's about to close, I'll animate the blur amount and make it to 0. So it looks like it's powering down. Here you can see some unnatural lines. I'll adjust optical flash to make it go. We have smoke overlapping over here. For that I'll simply copy the set matte effect and paste it on the smoke layer. It will work since the gold AOV is already selected in the effect. Here we have another issue. The glow from the lens flare is getting cut off on the gold models. This is because of the set matte effect. Let me check till where we actually want to hide the lens flare. Till here it's fine. So I'm gonna trim the AOV layer. After this part we don't really need it. Let's pre-compose it. Check on adjust comp duration. Alright, let's preview. Now everything is proper. Now do this to all the lights and the smoke layers. And finally, you will get this. I won't preview this because it will take a lot of time. Now you can pre-comp everything and add a pixel motion blur. Motion blur will add some realism to the scene. And since our character is in the center and the camera moves around him, the motion blur will blur everything just a little and keep the focus on our character. Here we can see the objects repeating, so I'll increase the shutter samples. Now it blends well. Alright, finally let's render this. Go to composition and add to media encoder. In renderer, I'm gonna select GPU acceleration. If your processor is stronger, then select software only option. Alright, click here. In format, select H.264 if you want the video to be in MP4 format. Under preset, you can select YouTube 1080 or something. I'm not gonna do that. Here select the folder you want to render and name the same. Alright, now the important stuff. Wait, I don't want the audio. Here make sure to check if the width and height matches your comp. Here it is 1920 by 1080. In case you were working with half or lower quality in your viewport, then here also it will select lower resolution. If that happens, simply set the viewport resolution to full and add to media encoder again. I'm gonna keep everything as it is. Check on render at maximum depth. For bitrate, let's check what's recommended by YouTube. For 1080p and 25fps, it says 8 bitrate. If your video is 60 fps, then use 12. Here I'll set 8 on both. Check maximum render quality. Don't have to change anything in these panels. Hit OK. Then the play button over here. I'm gonna skip this. Alright, so this is what we got. Pretty good, right? The motion blur really makes it look amazing. It does take away a lot of details, but it's worth it. By the way, I do have the red AOV. We can use that too, let me show you. Add a set matte, select red AOV to isolate the material, and you can add a hue and saturation to change its color and give a completely new look, like the War Machine. Here I have added hue and saturation effects on the lens flares as well. Just like that, experiment on your own and create something which you think looks best. Alright, that's it. Finally, this tutorial series has come to an end. I hope you guys did learn something, and if you have any doubts, do let me know in the comment section. Thank you for watching, guys.